Welcome back here on TSL Today. It is Monday, November 14th from the Corporate Research Center right here in the beautiful Blacksburg, Virginia. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Heater joined alongside Jack Brizendine with you. Well, Jack, we talked Hokies wrestling. Let's dive into the good stuff here. Talk about Virginia Tech football, followed by both men's and women's basketball on this segment. Briefly, not much to go over. Let's talk about this football game, though. 24-7, the final score, a loss in Durham to the 7-3 Blue Devils. Virginia Tech drops to 2-8 in the regular season, 1-6 in conference play for their overall record. Your takeaways from the game: I mean, Virginia Tech starts the game red hot, ended up getting some good field position after pinning them deep on the kickoff, and then got the ball on a bad punt at about their own 45-yard line, and then you see a 54-yard bomb from Grant Wells to Dwayne Lofton for the touchdown. What did you see after that when the Hokies started to kind of sputter?
You know, I think for me, I don't know if you've noticed this trend, but it feels like every week the first drive usually goes pretty well, and then afterwards it's almost like a whole new offense is out there as far as the lack of ball movement. But, you know, one thing I did notice, and I wrote this in my recap for 3304 Sports, Virginia Tech entered the Duke side of the field 5 times and only came away with that one touchdown. So that's sort of one of the things that I kind of took away, was just not finishing drives and just sort of being stalled. And it wasn't even like picks. There was the one Grant Wells interception, but other than that, it's just not being able to finish drives. I know Tech punted from, I think, the Duke 42 at one point. So it's not finishing and making plays to extend these drives and eventually score. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is the issue for this offense. There
were some small bright spots, though. You saw Mansour Delane pick up his first career collegiate interception on a pretty good play that he made as Riley Leonard was looking for the end zone. So that was a bright spot. One of the question marks I had is, why are we not seeing more Daquan Wright out on the field? He's clearly one of your better receivers, even though he's young. What were some of the positives that you were able to take away from the game?
I'm not really sure there were much positives offensively. I know that this was the 4th straight game where Virginia Tech only was able to find the end zone offensively in 1 of 4 quarters. So I would just say, maybe keeping it close, I guess, a little bit. But I really don't know how much you can take away. But I think, you know, to your point about not seeing Daquan Wright, I think that's sort of throughout the next 2 weeks. That's kind of the bright spots you might see, is just getting some of these younger guys involved, getting them some experience as you sort of just finish out this year, just seeing what you have in them.
All right, well, let's go ahead and flip the script over to basketball. Again, for football, Virginia Tech on the road at Liberty in Lynchburg this weekend. It's probably going to be an absolute zoo there. It's like the Super Bowl for them when Virginia Tech's coming to town. And the Hokies are underdogs of 8 points against the Liberty Flames. Who would have thought? Virginia Tech going on the road to face a team like Liberty, who is fairly new to the FBS, and the Hokies are 8-point dogs against Liberty. And then after that, a matchup with UVA in Lane Stadium. Will and Chris touched in it on the podcast. We'll see what kind of plays out there, if that game ends up getting played or not. So definitely keep an eye on that. Let's flip the script over to basketball now and talk Hokies hoops. How about this, man? A team that is 3-0 and incredibly fun to watch on the offensive side of the court.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome. I think, you know, one of the big sports writers, John Rothstein, said that Virginia Tech's offense is one of the best to watch in the country. And I think there's some substance to that. I mean, it feels like everyone on this team can shoot, which was something that was said a lot about last year's team, but it almost seems like this year's team, about anywhere on the floor, they can knock it down. I know you've seen some really promising stuff from transfer Grant Basile. I think that's how you say his last name.
Yep.
Sean Padula looks like he's taken that jump from freshman to sophomore year. Looks really nice. And yeah, you've just seen a lot of really good basketball. I think one thing maybe just clean up a little bit stuff defensively. Allowed 77 points to William Mary last night. But other than that, teams look really smooth. I think there's a lot of reason to believe that this could be Mike Young's best team he's fielded since he's been here.
My only, you don't want to say argument to that because I agree 77 points is too many, and there are things that need to tighten up defensively, but especially on the inside is I think where the glaring difference is when you lose a guy like Aluma, who in his own right was not a jaw-dropping defender. No. He was always more of an offensive scoring center and really more a true 4 than a 5, and was just kind of forced to play the 5. But regardless, the more you score, the more possessions the other team gets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're dropping almost 100 points, they're going to get the ball enough times to still produce some offense.
Exactly.
So that's kind of one thought. You mentioned it. Sean Padula and Hunter Couture absolutely went off. 22 points apiece for those two guys. Both of them went 7 of 11 from the field. Sean Padula, 4 for 7 from downtown. Hunter Couture, 6 for 10 from beyond the arc. It's safe to say it's a good day when Justin Mutz only scores 2 points and you're just fine. That just shows how many scorers there are on this basketball team. One night Basili can go off. If he's not going off, you saw Couture the last 2 games, he had 12 points combined, 6 in each of them. Then he drops 22 tonight. Maddox had what felt like, honestly, a kind of quiet 14, So just a lot of scoring domination. Poteet, I really like watching him play on the inside. Lynn Kidd even dropped 6.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, and I don't want to sneak into the women's side of the
we can do it. We'll take it where it's going.
I don't want to flip to that too quickly, but that was one thing that Kenny Brooks always talked about with his team was when one person's maybe getting all the attention defensively, is another person can pop off, like you saw with Kayla King in the season opener. I think that's the same thing with this team for Mike Young. I mean, you look at this, like you mentioned, Justin Mutz only had 2 points, and the Hokies still won easily. And he's arguably your best player, probably is your best player on the team. So, and you've got Grant Basili who dropped 30 the other night. So it really is any given night for any of these guys. And if you have that come, ACC play and the tournament time, that's only going to keep you going, knowing that whoever you need to point to and say you need to take the load tonight, they can handle it.
No doubt about it. We go ahead and flip the script now to the women's side. Again, the final score of the men's game, 94-77. Virginia Tech takes down William and Mary, unveils that fantastic banner. I will say, I wish it was just a generic ACC logo and said Tournament Champions 2022, more basic. I feel like 10 years from now, students coming to Tech aren't even going to realize that's an ACC championship banner because that is a logo very special. Look how small it says ACC. And if you show Jack actually right now, because he has it right over his right shoulder, that banner there. It's a great logo. I just feel like the banner that's raised in Castle maybe should have been a little more basic to match and fit with the banners around it. But how about those uniforms? Those are nice.
Those are spicy. I liked them. They were nice. They just look so clean. They looked kind of like the retro ones that the women's team wears. I think the script ones, those are nice too. And I think it was Deion Sanders said, "Look good, play good." And he's played pretty well last night.
Yeah.
Did you say spicy?
They were very spicy. That's my word for it.
All right, let's move on to the women's side of things. They took down Bucknell, beat the Bison 67-41 on Friday evening in Castle Coliseum. Bucknell picked to finish 4th in the Patriot League. Kitley with 22. There's not a whole lot to say here because you expected it. Maybe I expected a little more offense actually out of the Hokies, but nonetheless, Kitley drops 22. Taylor Soul had 6, 11 for Amor, 9 and 8 for Owusu and King, respectively, and then 2 points off the bench for the freshman Dunn. Hokies back in action again tonight. What do you expect to see this evening out of Virginia Tech?
I think you'll continue to see just them working out the kinks, I guess, of these first couple games. I think through the first 2 games, the Hokies have looked really nice. I think this is your all-in year for Kenny Brooks. You've got transfers in Seoul and Owusu who have looked really, really good through the first 2 games. And then you've got players like Kayla King and Georgia Amor who really feel like they're hitting their stride at this year. And then Kitley. I mean, this feels like a chips-in year for Kenny Brooks and his team.
No doubt about it. Virginia Tech, like we mentioned, back in action tonight. The Hokies in Castle Coliseum once again, and their opponent tonight, a little bit interesting. They face USC Upstate, who comes to Castle Coliseum for the first time in a while. 7 o'clock tip-off. That's on the ACC Network Extra, where you can catch that. I think that wraps things up today on TSL Today. Jack, your kind of final thoughts on football, basketball, anything?
I know it's probably been a rough go of it over the last couple months for Hokies fans as far as the football team, but I think from what we've seen from wrestling and these 2 hoop squads, I think Hokie Nation's in store for a pretty exciting winter and early spring.
Yeah, I mean, and then the spring you got softball and baseball back too. So, all right, that'll wrap things up on TSL Today. Thanks so much for being with us on your Monday. We'll see you on Wednesday. TSL Today from Blacksburg.